to down the slope. What a weekend it has been. Uh, Liam, what a day. What a glorious, lovely day Saturday was. What a time to be alive, mate, right?
See if you were gonna like bottle what smugness sounds like it would be the opening to the podcast there. Um, I am feeling very happy right now. Very happy. And you never
Just
ask me how I'm doing, and I never tell people how I'm doing because I don't care. But I just want everyone to know that I'm very happy.
yeah, Craig, how are you feeling? You know, we don't ask Liam these things because you just never know what mood you're getting him in on a Monday night, and sometimes it's best avoided. How are you?
Oh, superb. How good is it for Hibs to be good again?
Oh, I tell
It's
you
just
what.
class.
I tell you what, I turned into the boy beside me at, I don't know, it's probably about somewhere between 80 and 85 minutes, and I was like, it's fucking easier when you're shite. Just like, just that feeling of like, it would have almost been easier if we were losing 2-1 and pushing for an equaliser instead of 2-1 and kind of, do you know, just like for your mental state. But no, I mean, ugh, there can only be one place to start, isn't there? Hibs were fucking excellent at the weekend. Liam, the perfect start, Josh Campbell, 2 minutes in. Oh my days. Perfect, right?
Aye, really, really good. I was one of the many thousands inside the stadium who was absolutely screaming and berating Nectar Triantis for not playing the wide ball to Cadden because it just looked like the easy pass to me. But then when you get the opportunity to watch it back, obviously Boyle's run takes away Carter Vickers and it just leaves that lovely angle for him to play the other ball that he played. It was just so funny. Like you could literally hear the tension when he picked the ball up in that area because it looked like something was on right for the get go. And he plays what you think's the wrong pass, but then almost you instantaneously realise it's the right pass, and you're like, oh, like that sharp intake before he hits it. So good, such a good way to start the game.
It's just, Craig, it's one of them where, like, do you know, you'll hear, like, people, oh, it's easy for us to say that that passes on, you know, when you're, like, we obviously all look at it from a fairly higher up. I mean, Liam doesn't get any higher up being in the back row of these stand, but, you know, like, that sort of bird's eye view of a pitch. But it literally was, I think, probably 95% of the stadium going, give the ball to Cadden, give the ball to Cadden. But Chiantis just finds that lovely pass into Campbell to slot away under Casper Schmeichel. It was a nice start to the afternoon's activities, right?
I'm sitting here with quite a sort of smug smile on my face, just listening to you guys saying that you're all screaming for the Cadden pass, because I was one of the 5% about busting a blood vessel. Because literally when he picked the ball up, the first thing I seen was Campbell in the space, or running into the space anyway. So I was going absolutely, well, not mental, I'm desperate for him to pass it into Campbell because I could just see the space.
Mhm.
It's honestly probably one of the most I've enjoyed a goal at Easter Road just because I could just see it unfolding right in front of my eyes. And everything about it was executed perfectly. The pass, perfect weight, and then the finish, just such a good finish. Yeah.
It's probably a miss not to maybe start a little bit earlier than sort of Chiantis his role in that. Liam Kieran Bowie got on off
Bowie,
to a strong foot, didn't he? And he continued that for his sort of hour that he was on the pitch. So it was it Greg Taylor he pinned and what was it?
aye,
Oh no, 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 sorry, it was Trusty. Trusty came in.
trusty,
Aye.
aye. And I think that probably in isolation probably justifies why us and many others were calling for his inclusion. Probably before this weekend, to be honest, because I think you see, he's come probably quite a long way out of what is his, position, his territory, to come and get that ball. He's committed to play forward, which creates all of that lovely space in behind him. And just generally, not taking it beyond that moment in isolation, just generally, he was just an absolute nuisance for the 60 odd minutes he was on the park. Just he was everywhere. He gave the two defenders, particularly Carter Vickers, who I think has, he's no used to no getting his own way in this league.
Yeah.
Carter Vickers, he pretty much has an easy Saturday afternoon most weeks, but that's twice now across sort of two fairly short spells and games. But that's twice now across two games where he's had a real tough challenge up against Kieran Bowie.
Yeah. I seen a tweet today saying that he must be, and I think this was based off his performances against Bayern Munich, that he must be the best centre back not playing in the top five leagues in Europe, and I just refuse to believe that that can be the case because I genuinely think like I was chatting with Graham about this at the game, and Graham, I think he's overrated. But I think he's in this league really good. But I think you can get at him. I think you can rough him up. I think if you turn him, he can be quite shaky. I think you've seen that cut. I think Kieran Bowie won a corner sort of midway through the first half where literally the ball just went in behind him. He's certainly not a defender to me that I think will move again. I think this is his level. I think he's played at a higher level and been exposed, and more often than not in
We
the
could get
Champions
back
League
on
as well
topic and
has.
talk about
Sorry, aye,
Hibs rather than
sorry.
Carmen
I know.
Carter
I just think he's average. If I'm being honest, it's the same way as we ginger
Harsh.
pal that was on the bench. Uh, were you surprised, Craig, that Hibs played such a like front foot from the get go, like really in the faces of Celtic? Because against Rangers in January, we seen we went that way and sort of got ripped apart for 20 minutes. Did that surprise you at all?
Uh, Maybe if you take into the context of the Rangers game, maybe a wee bit, yeah. But to be honest, I kind of cited it last week. I thought the opportunity was there to get at them from the first whistle,
Hmm.
and I thought we looked intense and like we wanted it, and even like after sort of 30 seconds over the far side, the West Stand side, there was a sort of melee and a few challenges going in. Uh, the one player I remember in that involved in it was Miller, and do you know what I mean? They all looked right up for it. And I think maybe, look, obviously, you even said it last week after the European game, Celtic, for whatever reason, have actually done really well at the start of games. But I think it's one of these things that sometimes if you can just catch them when they're a wee bit tired and they sort of want to ease themselves into a game after having a really tough game midweek, I think it's a good opportunity to just to get a
Hmm.
fast start, basically, and that's exactly what we've done, to be fair.
Do you think it's too easy though, Craig, for people outside the sort of Hibs support to say it is a European hangover for Celtic, etc., and sort of almost avoid giving Hibs the praise that we deserve for our performance?
It's definitely an it's definitely an easy excuse, but I think 100% we deserve, or Hibs deserve the credit for it,
Mm.
to be honest. Look, ultimately, I think if we're being totally honest with ourselves, you have to say that if Celtic turn up and they're 100% on it, and we're 100% on it, then they beat us because they've got better players.
Yeah.
So you do, for Hibs to win a game against Celtic, you need them to be slightly off it, but that doesn't mean that we weren't good and we weren't right on it.
Right. Liam, how did you feel that the game then progressed from there? Obviously, the early goal maybe would have been easy for Hibs to retreat and, just try and defend that. Did you feel how did you feel as the sort of half progressed, obviously scoring again later in the half?
I felt pretty comfortable, to be honest. I didn't like it. I think Jordan Smith's made once, it was from Alistair Johnston, when he got in down the right hand side. But to be honest, I mean, if you goalie gets beat at that kind of angle, it's going to take some probably fairly special to get past him. I felt really in that spell up until the goal, I felt really pretty comfortable with how we looked. I thought our shape looked like it was how it was meant to.
Hmm.
And we had chances of our own as well. I mean, Campbell had the one where Schmeichel sort of tips it over the crossbar. I know it's not a brilliant chance, but it's a decent. To be honest, it's probably a better chance than the one that he
Aye.
scores from, the second
Fla
one. The set.
Flagged
I mean,
offside, so probably onside, given that
well,
distance.
it's true. But I mean, I think what I would say is the second one almost, and the way it's going, and the fact that the ball's kind of on a pretty sharp sort of downward trajectory as it gets to him, he's got no right to finish that the way he does and put it across the goalkeeper like that. And that's another one, by the way, where I was screaming at Nick he couldn't get the ball in first time because I just think he got on his left foot. I know maybe in retrospect the angle wasn't there, but I'm a big advocate for just getting the ball in the box first time. Like
Yep.
I just think in this league especially, I think just when the opportunity comes, take it to get into the box. And we didn't do it, and there's blood vessels in the side of my head popping, and Martin Boyle then just has the composure to then put in a right footed ball. I'll be honest, it's not a great ball in. Like it's not, it really isn't a great ball in, but it's all about the action of the sort of attacking player to make it happen. And Campbell, who we've highlighted the last few weeks, has been good in the air. I'll be honest, I don't think good is enough of a superlative to describe how effective he's been in the air for the last 3-4 months.
Yeah.
It's like it's levels that I've never seen before from like a central attacking midfield player. I don't ever remember watching a number 10 who's been as effective in that position
Yeah, well,
in there.
yeah, well, he has absolutely been, that sort of facilitator for us, hasn't he? Like we are literally playing off of him, and we laugh about teams playing direct, and but when you have that effectiveness from the player that isn't in theory going to be your furthest point forward as well, do you know what I mean? Like it's not a risk if he flicks it on. There should be someone, and 9 times out of 10 getting beyond them. It's not one of them where you see a centre forward flick it and absolutely nobody's within 20 yards of him. He has been fantastic, but I just thought throughout the game that midfield three just Craig, they just sort of, I think dogged's not the right word for what they done in there. There's two real moments of quality with the goals, but the rest of the game they were just fantastic.
I thought, to be fair, I thought it was quite ironic because I was a wee bit. That was probably my only concern when I looked at the team sheet was a midfield three, or my main concern anyway. And then obviously, 2 minutes in, I'm proven completely wrong because they literally all three of them create the goal. But like you say, Marrah Welsh, what a game he had to come in out the cold and play as well as he did. To be fair, I do think it's a game that suits him. Maybe with a wee bit less of the ball and sort of having to be more reliant on just doing his defensive duties rather than actually playing too much, or being like us, being reliant on being an attacking team. So I thought it was a game that suits him, and I don't know maybe that every game that we play is going to suit him. But he was excellent, to be fair, really good.
Ali, was there any surprise for you in Marrah Welsh coming into the team? Obviously he was it's one of two changes, of course, with Lewis Miller for Cadden as well.
I think it was a surprise just because we've not seen him. I don't think it was a surprise based on his ability. I think he is one of these players who, was obviously quite good last season. He hasn't had a huge number of opportunities this season. He had a really poor game in the first game of the season away at St Mirren. And, we're probably lucky if we've seen 90 minutes in total of him since then. He really hasn't featured. And I've often looked at the team and wondered, when Quan's not been at it, and obviously Newell's been suspended for a period, why we haven't seen more of him. I think even Luke Amos got off the bench, in the cup game against Clydebank. I think Marrah Welsh is probably suspended for that, though. Actually, wasn't he? Because
Yes, he
he
was,
sent
yeah.
off last season. So, but we haven't really seen an awful lot of him. I'm starting to wonder. If it was excellent on Saturday, I'm starting to wonder if maybe the trope that he's sort of not particularly good on the ball has been overplayed just a wee bit. Just based on the wee bits that I saw on Saturday. Obviously, I think most of his best work has been up until this point been off the ball. Particularly, snapping into challenges in those sort of tight spaces where it's a sort of 50-50 ball. He's got that low centre of gravity, covers the ground quickly. I would like to see more of him. I know Craig's saying about playing him in this game, and it is a game that's tailor made for him, to be honest. But I think if we're going to finish in the top six, there'll be more games that'll be like that, and potentially we'll need them more. I think I would just like to see more of him to make a judgment, because he's a player I think we've missed at points this season, particularly when Quan's played.
Yeah, not to be overly critical of a player that wasn't even available for the matchday squad at the weekend, but there's a lot of comments in on the YouTube there, and you've highlighted it. You would think that he will now be ahead of, excuse me, of Quan in the pecking order, even maybe in a game, let me say St Johnstone at home. I don't see that Quan offers you more on the ball than Marrah Welsh does, at least on what we've seen probably for the last since October time, maybe.
I think the only possible justification picking Quan ahead of Marrah Welsh should be height.
Okay.
We're a tall team, and I think we've leaned into that a lot this season, but particularly when we've been on a better run the second half of the season, is we have tended to pick tall players. And I know that managers, particularly maybe late stage of games, last 20 minutes, when they're thinking about bringing players on, they do look at the height of the players, because they're thinking about defensive set pieces, attacking set pieces. And I think that would be why you'd pick him, because Marrah Welsh is a small guy. Like, I probably didn't appreciate quite how small he was until I saw them all lined up at the weekend, doing Sunshine on Leith.
Yeah.
facing the stand, and you saw the picture of them behind, like, fucking hell, he is small. Like,
I also think you need to be fairly balanced on the Marrah Welsh situation. As much as he was excellent, but just at the same time, you wouldn't slate a player and axe him out your team if he had one bad performance. And I also think it kind of goes the same way that you don't rip up a plan or whatever just because one guy had a one good game doesn't mean he's
Mhm.
guaranteed to start every game or should be guaranteed to start every game anyway.
It certainly the performance like that certainly gives you more faith in the area, though. You know, if you know that he can come in and perform like that with, Dylan Levitt, who had performed well before picking up a little knock, and with obviously Joe Newell coming available again, you're sort of looking at that going, if you discount Campbell as a sort of option as the deeper two, you are maybe a little bit more comfortable going, okay, we've got four players there, or if we need to change it in a game, we've got different options in terms of Marrah Welsh's energy or Levitt's ability on the ball, and then Trantis and Newell are probably more similar. They're probably the most similar of the two. Does it give you that little bit more faith, Liam, as the season progresses that we're okay in there?
I think so. I think the return of New will be massive.
And Manny as well, of course. Sorry.
And yeah, Manny as well. When you start to throw it all together, it is quite a lot of players. And I think everyone likes to think about it as a pecking order, and I think there's definitely some truth in that. But I think it is also, it's not. Sometimes it's a pecking order, but it's more, you use the right player for the right occasion. And I think the skill sets of Marrah Welsh and Levitt are almost polar opposites in terms of what they'll give you. So different, there'll be different games where you'd maybe play one of the two of them, and there might be points and things can maybe get a little bit more congested, just sort of fixture wise towards the end of the season where there's a bit of rotation comes in there as well.
Yeah, and it's that sort of touches really if you go back to what David Gray said in the summer around being like one of the most important things in the league is being adaptable and accepting that one week you could be playing at Celtic Park and the next week you could be playing St Johnstone at home. Like they are different games now. And if you were to go back to earlier in the season, perhaps that's something that he then maybe didn't follow through on. I remember we went to Ibrox and played well, but then we went and named the same team against Motherwell at home and struggled. And you'd like to think that as the season's progressed and on this run that we will see more flexibility in there. But Craig, just look, we spoke a lot about Marrah Welsh there, so I think it's only right that if there's any other players that let's go defensively first. That you maybe one player that you would like to highlight out of that sort of back three and or even back five with the wing backs.
I'll go with Lewis Miller, the other change to the starting 11. Somebody I think, to be fair, we all kind of highlighted. I think it was maybe the 3-0 game at Celtic Park. That Miller tends to do quite well for whatever reason. Against Maeda, I think it's maybe just that sort of wee bit extra athleticism up against Maeda on the wing. And I think also it's almost another game that suits Miller because I know, or it suits Miller as opposed to Cadden. I think Miller, when he's forced to defend, like up against the likes of Celtic, like he knows he's going to have to defend, and he's probably not going to get away with going in quite as high. I think that maybe suits him a wee bit better, especially against Maeda, because I've seen Chris Cadden get sort of ripped a few times off Maeda. But I thought Miller was a real standout to me. Again, another player coming off the back and not too many minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he was absolutely superb. Really, really just looked like he wanted to defend. We've talked at length previously about this sort of will to defend or sort of desire not to concede, and I thought he embodied that perfectly the weekend.
Yeah. I thought it was excellent. Liam, maybe just to add one little layer into what Craig said there about the game suiting him, Jink, because he knows he just has to concentrate for the whole game. Like, he's constantly actually paying attention. Like,
He done one off, eh? He done one
Aye.
off.
It is maybe a factor in it. I don't know. It was, if I remember rightly, he was really good in the 4-2 game at the end of the season before last. I think
he made
Maeda
his
got sent
debut at
off that.
Celtic Park, or at least sorry,
Maeda
his
got
first
sent off
start.
in it. Aye, so yeah, it is obviously a fixture that he enjoys, but you know, he's one of them. I mean, this is the thing when you have a performance that's good on Saturday, it's almost difficult to know where to start with who you want to
Yeah,
heap the praise on because Miller was very good, but Bashiri, Iredale, O'Hora were all very, very good. I mean,
Rocky, man.
Rocky, the block on the line. I was watching him and I had this sinking feeling because like, we're just going to concede here because he's just not able to get back. And then that warrior spirit to get to the byline, to get to the goal line. And then, people talk about being right place, right time, and there's a bit of luck. And I think that there's truth in that. But, good defenders know where to position themselves. And he positions himself in the right place and makes the clearance. And, it's just another game in a long line of performances where he's the levels he's producing, quite frankly, are ridiculous.
Mhm.
And his confidence at the moment, sky high. I mean, there was a point in the first half, don't know if you remember, where he let the ball roll through him and
Yeah.
he just beat the press because he was just so composed in possession. I'm thinking, that's not the Rocky Bashiri that I was watching last season. It's just almost like, not a completely different player because a lot of the same attributes are there, but when things are good, I mean the crowd are behind them, and I think that's the crucial thing is the crowd are right behind the team Saturday, and part of that is owed to the early goal, but part of it is just obviously the vibes that we're feeling right now. This team, I just hope we can keep it going for that wee bit longer because it's just
Mhm.
it's just like it's just a really great moment.
Rocky's obviously got that 100 hours of coaching that Lee Johnson spoke about. He must be about there now. So that I just thought he was. Oh, I kind of thought you were going to mention Iredale, to be fair, Liam, but well, I know you did. But Rocky was just phenomenal at the weekend. Like I've seen like sorry, but Barney's just put in the YouTube chats. Don't think it's fair to highlight an individual, but look, I thought O'Hara and Iredale were good, really good, but Rocky was just a level above as far as I'm concerned, and has been for the last 3 months really since he came into the team. I think maybe he played the Dundee game and then has been ever present since then. But he's been th- it's actually hard to put in words the level of consistency and improvement, like because you think back to his debut, like he was up against Kevin Van Veen at Motherwell and he looked phenomenal that night. And then we've never really seen that again until the last couple of months when there's been a lot of talk about his future during the week. I think David Gray was quoted on it, and saying the sort of discussions will go on, and you mentioned it last month maybe when we were in the window doing that stuff, Liam, that he might see his future as somewhere else away from Hibs, and he is very quickly becoming a player that we need to try our best to get tied down and hope that he like. Even if it's for another, like might sound ridiculous, but if you give him another 2 year, 3 year deal, it might only be for another 6 months, and he very quickly could become a player that you can sell on for a good chunk of money if he's under contract as well, because he does have the raw athleticism, recovery speed that God, you've seen it that he's fucking hopping for the halfway line and still manages to get back onto the goal line, like just incredible. And I mean, I hope that his injury, I hope his injury that he obviously picked up isn't too significant, because he would be. I know Marv's back obviously, but he would be a miss for the next two games this week. Anyway, um, is there anyone else you would like to highlight? We kind of mentioned Kieran Bowie, we've mentioned Marrah Welsh, obviously
Can I
Josh
just can I
Campbell.
just touch on Kieran Bowie again? Because anybody that's listened over the last few weeks will have heard me going on about how important I think a striker, like a proper striker, is, and it's not just about putting the ball in the net. And honestly, I was see after 20 minutes, I was so buzzing, not because we were 1-1 nil. Just Kieran Bowie. I said to the guy that I sat next to, I was like, he's done more in 20 minutes than the other guy who I don't want to call him out, but than the other guy has done in the entirety of the season. And in terms of hold up, honestly, it was so good. Not only like backing into defenders and putting them off, holding the ball up in chaotic moments with quality. Like there was
Hmm.
one time where the ball was about head height and he manages to get a toe up to it and knock it down and lay it off for another Hibs player. So honestly, it was so good. Such a difference to be able to get the ball and get up the park rather than just having to rely on balls down channels. Like
Yeah,
such a difference.
look,
Just
but
on just on Bowie, just really quickly, it's the double threat that he possesses as well that defenders don't really in this league come up against too often. It's the ability to hold it up and go in behind because he's quick enough that if you're a defender and you don't react, he will run in behind you and he will get onto the ball because he's quick enough. But he's also strong enough to hold it. And strikers in this league that can do that are worth their weight in gold, because it gives you, not only does it give you two options, but it almost gives you, different options in terms of how you actually want to play the game. Whether you want to sort of drop it into that sort of space like we did for the opening goal, or whether you just want to, you're up against a team that's playing a high line and just want to knock it in behind them. I just think it's such a noticeable difference in the team having a guy who will do that and who will actually work.
Yeah, I've just seen a comment coming there from Old Drumpty saying you definitely noticed it when Bowie was off, and I mean he was that good that you would notice it. But I do want to say that I thought Kukurevich done a lot better when he came on than he had in his two previous outings in the cup, and I think we've done a lot of conversation on him. I think there's obviously been a massive dearth in confidence, and I think when you're a player coming on and you're coming onto a pitch that you can see your teammates are absolutely thriving in the game, and they're full of confidence, that must give you a lift. And I just think it's worth highlighting that for a player that there's scar tissue there. The last time he started a league game was against the opponents where he missed two sitters and he missed two sitters and got injured. Just psychologically, I actually did think he done really well when he came on, and we'll maybe talk about an incident that he was involved in. But yeah, we're 26 minutes in, and we have not even mentioned the second half yet.
Can we talk about a funny? Can we talk about a funny really quickly for the second half? How good was when Lewis Miller got that ball in down the right hand side and he whipped it? It was absolutely inch perfect cross. Can we talk about how funny Martin Boyle's headed attempt was?
Do you know what? I actually thought that, like, at the time I was like, oh, that was quite a difficult one. I've seen it back and he should do a lot better.
It's an absolute dream of a ball, and
I know,
it evades the two centre halves completely, and he's in space as well. He's like,
I think he thinks it should be harder than what it is. Like, it looks to me like he almost gets ahead of it. He gets up early. Like, it's just
not his game, is it? It's just not his game.
It's not. That's not, to be fair.
Obviously, that came almost immediately after Celtic's goal. But if I just was to take us back to half time, Celtic make three changes: Jota, Hatate, and Schlupp coming on. That just, for me, tells you just how well Hibs done in the first half. For us, they are bringing a Premier League winner, a player they sold for 25 million, 18 months ago, and I've just brought back in, and debatably one of, if not the best midfielders in the league. It's not bad, right? I can see you're smart there, Liam, but at half time, and when you see that coming, did you feel the same sort of sense of comfortableness that I did? In thinking, okay, they're going to just pin us back here, but we've got it in us now to just sit there for 45 minutes and try and counter?
I'll be honest, mate. I did say fuck's sake when I seen the three of them coming on. Like, and fuck's sake in quite a, like, just almost like that's no fair kind of way. Like, it's really no fair to bring the three players off the bench. And it was worse for me because we didn't clock on to all three, because I think the substitutions were announced, so we didn't clock on to all three. I went, all right. I think I noticed Jota first. Went, Jota's on, for fuck's sake. Like, imagine we don't bring him on. And then as time goes on, you realise that, Hatate's on the pitch. Oh, that's no Greg Taylor at left back.
He's just drew a foot and a half.
So, aye. I mean, I don't know if you'd be able to put a sort of monetary amount on the three players, but you're talking about a heavy sort of wad of talent coming on the pitch there. And by the way, the three players that they took off aren't bad either. So, I think it just goes to show you the disparities. I think it was last week someone said, for every pound we spend, Celtic spend £13. So, you could argue they've maybe got 13 times the talent that we've got. But I think if you look at, I think it's tough to say we looked more than a match for them in the game. And even in the second half when they had more impetus, I still felt like we carried a threat.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say something really stupid there. Rocky cleared one off the line, but Celtic's goal is incredibly scrappy, and look, Jordan Smith should do better. It's fortunate in the way that it lands at Maeda in the first place. Hatate is absolutely trying to have a shot and stumbles over his own feet while he's doing it. But how with that, so the Jota chance, which I mean we'll come on to, shouldn't exist in the game, as Hibs should have had a penalty, but. Did Jordan Smith actually have that many saves to make? For the amount of pressure that Celtic had in terms of territory and ball possession, I don't remember Smith making a save in the second half.
I think that's probably largely down to us just sitting in a shape and making it very difficult for them to get shots, to get like basically to get any shots off. There was a number of times Nicholas Kuhn comes in onto his left foot, and you're a wee bit concerned sort of as soon as he comes inside that he's going to whip it right into the top corner. But every time we just managed to get somebody out just to close it down in enough time. But I think obviously, we've seen it ourselves a number of times when teams come to Easter Road and put everybody behind the ball. For being honest, while I'm not at all having a go at us for doing it, but that's kind of what we were doing. We were just sitting in and we were quite comfortable to, at 2-0 up, basically try and see it out, which I've got more confidence in us to do now than I did at the start of the season. And I actually felt relatively comfortable until obviously the goal comes. So I thought we'd done quite well and just sitting in our shape.
God, we talk about this strength coming off of Celtic's bench though, but they make the three changes, and then I looked at what else they've got in there. I was like, oh, we're fine here. Do you know the rest that's on there is shite. Do you know, it's objectively no shite, but I think it was a couple of young players, Yang maybe, and then obviously
Johnny Kenny,
the world's worst centre half to come on and save the day for them. But I mean, I don't know if the performance carried on through the second half in a much different manner, and in a way that it warranted. I think I think it would have been silly for Hibs to try and be as front foot as we were in the second half, Liam. But was there any sort of particular moments in there that you just felt, that sort of wins us the game? Obviously, with Rocky's sort of clearance, or is there anything that really stuck out in your mind going in the second half that was fantastic?
Josh Campbell over on the right hand side about 20 seconds before the whistle blew.
By the
By the way,
way,
his tackle after.
To be honest, like that was a huge sense of relief because
goal was out anyway.
Yeah, but still,
Not to bring up any old wounds for Celtic fans, but the ball actually was it.
Aye.
Right, let's get on to what people actually want to talk about. For about the 700th week in a row, the officials that partook at Easter Road this weekend. It'll sound ridiculous to suggest that they were against Hibs when apparently the most debatable decision in the world went in our favour. I thought Stephen McLean was a fucking disgrace at the weekend, and his officials. I totally understand the need for the officials to delay their offside flag. But see, when the ball comes in and Hibs clear it, get your fucking flag up. It's a different phase of play. They were Celtic recycling the ball and recycling it. Just had done my fucking tatty in at the weekend, but I just thought start to finish the referee was pathetic, Liam. I genuinely thought it was so bad. So bad. I've got so many things I could highlight. Oh my God.
I really don't, to be honest. Because I don't really want to give it too much time because I don't really want this to descend into a moaning session when ultimately we're all very, very happy with the outcome of the weekend. I think, all I would say is I think, his official on the other side obviously had linesman on the sort of west hand side had a very poor game. I mean, a very, very poor game. Just the number of calls that weren't even really particularly marginal calls that he got wrong. But I don't think any one of the officials had a particularly good game. But to be honest, if we didn't win the game 2-1, I might have been prepared to sit here and moan about it tonight. But right now, actually, I don't care. So I might just put my slippers on and light up a cigar and just kick back and listen to you talk about it.
Well, Craig, before you come in, I've got some shit to get off my chest, and this isn't even talking about decisions that have went against us, against Celtic in the last few years, of which there's fucking multiple. I have no issue, right, with referees wanting games to flow and telling, but we have seen it, and we see it most weeks when we play anyone that isn't probably Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, or Aberdeen, where the other team from the first minute will take their time with goal kicks, will take their time with anytime the ball goes out of play. And the first time the referee will mention speeding them up is, I don't know, the 75th minute. Stephen McLean was at Hibs from the start of the game. I didn't realise we had to play the game at Celtic's pace. I didn't realise that was in the rules. He, in the second half, gave the most obvious throw into Hibs to Celtic, which the linesman flagged for. He then, fucking, like the biggest dick in the world, gave it to Celtic, and then with two thumbs pointed at himself, like this guy basically say, "I'm the fucking main man. I'll make the decisions," and just throughout the game. Oh, he just, oh, honest to fuck. Oh, and that's not even talking about how Hibs should have got a Stonewall penalty, which then almost cost us 2 points because Celtic had one turned off the line. How the official thought Josh Campbell was fucking offside when he was clearly onside. How he thought the ball was still in play when it very obviously was out of play. And also the fucking worst of them all, that foul that Martin Boyle had on Greg Taylor inside the first couple of minutes at the West Stand. Fuck.
Oh,
me.
uh,
Say what you want, Craig. That's enough for me.
no, look, I'm probably just not quite as angry about it as as you are, to be
I
fair.
just, I just want consistency. See if they're going to, if the narrative is that the game has to flow every week.
The line was probably the one that annoyed me the most, to be honest. I about lost the plot at him, to be fair, especially the ball going out incident, because I had a perfect angle on it for where I sit, section 44 in the east, and the ball's definitely out. Like it's 100% out of the park. I could see it first time. I don't know why the lino doesn't see it, and then obviously it puts the pressure on by not giving. I could not believe when they didn't. Uh, like they let it be a goal. I was gobsmacked, to be honest. Uh, but it was a good laugh and we won the game. So
I just feel like with that situation, you can tell a lot from players' reaction, and I know players are they will claim for everything, but I feel like that see earlier in the game when Hibs shouted for a penalty for handball on Kuhn, I feel like you could tell from his reaction that it just absolutely hadn't hit his arm because he was, do you know, like so like that sort of like it was obvious that he was just like nah. It was so clear to me that all the Hibs it wasn't that ball went out ref. Like it was so clear for the Hibs players' reactions that they were adamant. Oh, right, I need to move on. Should Hibs had a penalty though, Liam? Obviously the talking point of the game is that
Uh,
the goal, but I feel like that's a penalty. They came out and said that Hearts should have had a penalty against Rangers last week for the same thing.
it's not quite the same, was it? It's not
It's
quite the
two hands
same.
on the back and pushed to the ground. They would both be soft as shit. If one was supposed to be a penalty last week, it should be a penalty this week.
I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I think in terms of the threshold that we've seen for penalties over the last couple of seasons, yes, it's a penalty. Do I want to see games of football
Right.
where that is given as a penalty? No, I don't. Like, I think there has to be an allowance for some level of contact. It is obviously really, it's hard to say because you're not the pusher or the person being pushed, the extent to which someone's being pushed in the box. But for me, yeah, probably not. It's not held by Kukurevic's
no,
theatrics.
oh no, it's a dive. I'm sorry, but it's a dive. Like,
Fine. Well, Josh Campbell was
if the boot was on
onside.
the other foot, we'd absolutely be claiming a dive there
If it was on the other
because he
side, it'd be
throws
a penalty.
himself. True, but
It's
for me,
probably more of
he
a
throws
penalty than
himself.
Dalby's. Well, the
I
one
know,
that
but
Dalby
it's
scored.
Aye, against ourselves at Easter Road. Aye. I just didn't get it. And I mean, the outrage from Celtic fans on social media is fantastic. I mean, the outrage of Brendan Rodgers, obviously, we're to trust the assistant referee over the cameras who thought Josh Campbell was on offside, who thought Martin Boyle fouled. I mean, absolutely trust that guy over the images. I mean, of course. I mean, he just had such a good game in general. You know, he never got anything wrong. There wasn't any VAR decisions that overturned him. Oh, just Brendan Rodgers a fucking weapon, isn't he?
get up, you Brenda.
Oh,
He's he is back to like good old deluded Brendan for his first spell in it. He's got that bit between his teeth again. You know, he's talking about injustices and all that. You love to see it. I
Johnny, do you want to hear about
he's
injustices?
just playing to the galleries, isn't he? Like
Aye.
that's all he's doing. He's playing to the galleries. It's the we've been wronged. We're the victims here. We never get any refereeing decisions in our favour.
Out with the cup final that they never gave a penalty away with the last minute to go in extra time. Anyway, do you want to hear? Just Craig told me not to do this. Do you want to hear some decisions that have went against Hibs when we've played Celtic in recent years? Just so on the balance of these things always even themselves out in the long run. So you never said yes, but you're hearing them anyway because I'm
As
hosting.
I've just told that was a
Aye,
rhetorical
aye.
question. I assume
So
most of your questions are rhetorical at
aye.
this point, to be honest.
So this is a note on my phone that I'd spent great time working on today, titled "Decisions that have went against us against Celtic." Last season, Hibs lost 2-1 against Celtic, two penalties, both debatable at best. Can see why they were given, but Triantes with a header onto Alistair Johnson, and Joe Newell tried to block a shot and got given a penalty against him. Ellie Yuan got a second yellow card for being fouled at Celtic Park while the game was 0-0. The ref didn't even initially blow for a foul. He stopped the game for a head knock, then gave him a second yellow card, meaning that it couldn't be checked. And for what it's worth, that was Stephen McLean. Miko not getting a pen at the weekend. The missed penalty on Ryan Porteous in the last couple of minutes of the League Cup final, and the second Celtic goal in said League Cup final when it was so evident that Hibs were making a change and everyone was ready for it and they allowed play to go on. I believe Paul McGinn called it incompetence at the time and got a 2-match ban, and he was absolutely correct. So honestly, I don't give a fuck if the ball goes in or out.
Can I actually, just to further appease you, can I actually add to that list then? Because I can think of 3 in one game at Celtic Park. Just if we want to really throw it back even further, one of my footballing heroes, Mark Milligan, was scythed down at Celtic Park. But I believe it was Scott Brown actually. Like Stonewall red card. I genuinely don't even know if he got booked for it. And in the same game, Simunovic elbowed Ollie Shaw in the pan, full pelt, clear red card.
And Darnell Johnson.
Yep. In the same game. I think it was at the same game.
He got a retrospective and the other two got fuck off.
And also in that game, Ollie Buck, it was 2-0 and Ollie Buck was offside when he scored. So there's 3 in one game.
Honestly, but they don't get anything. There's definitely a conspiracy
Not that
against
I'm
them.
bitter.
No, not in the slightest. Anyway, Liam, Sunshine and Leith was good, wasn't it? Surprised?
Nah, because I think you know, I think it's kind of become. I'm gonna maybe get my games mixed up here, but I think it's maybe become not an expectation, but I think it's kind of become the done thing now when we win what is a Category A game, essentially we'll call it that. Albeit not Aberdeen's category now, isn't it? So
Aye.
not Aberdeen.
They're
They're the real Category A games, not the pretended one. And obviously, the timing of the sort of anniversary of Ron Gordon's passing, it kind of felt like the right thing to do, to be honest. I had no qualms with it. As is always the case in Scottish football, when anyone does anything, to celebrate a victory, the celebration police come out and tell you what is and isn't acceptable. But it felt right to me. The sun was shining. It was a beautiful day. It was beating a team for only the second time in the last 25 fixtures. I think shows the enormity of the scale of the win. I very much enjoyed it.
As well, like, this is sort of, it felt like a real defining moment for this team, and I know that might sound really silly. Like, we went to Tynecastle and won, but that was quite early in the run. Like, it's sort of like it really like validates everything that we've done as well. Like, it felt like a real, not to suggest that we're going to now be on a sort of come down from in the coming games, but it was like a real pinnacle of this is where we've come from. Everyone was so down just a couple of months ago. Like, it just felt right. I don't know.
It's a statement win, innit? Like, they talk about statement wins, and you think he's had 2 now. One of them at Tynecastle, and I think that one there was a statement win. You could maybe argue, the result that we got away at Pittodrie a few months ago as well, potentially was a statement win, given how seldom we seem to win up there. But I think those are the ones that really remember are the derbies and the games against Celtic and Rangers, and I think it's very important for the manager to have those things to look back on, because it gives the fans something to sort of anchor their beliefs in. If you've got those wins to back up, what is an ever improving record in terms of sort of win percentage. But I think that was massive.
Craig, just talking about Sunshine and Leith, I've got a wee follow-up point I want to make on what Liam said there, but I'd just like to get your thoughts on sort of the post-match and everything after it.
I think context of a season is important, especially. Obviously, we all love Sunshine and Leith, but I think the best part about it is that we don't get it often. It's almost like, a lot of other teams will look at a season and, if we have 3 or 4 like Hampden or trips, or a couple of Hampden trips, and we get a couple of big wins or whatever, our season almost, you could sort of define it down to how many Sunshine and Leith moments you get. Well, you
know what I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely think it felt right. Obviously, ordinarily, when we say beating Celtic, I wouldn't have it, because sometimes it doesn't feel that big, but I just think the context of our season, how it's went, how low everybody was, fans and players at the start of the season. I think that it felt massive, and there was a real buzz about the place at the end of the game,
Mhm.
and it was just class. It was brilliant, to be fair. One of the best days I've had at Easter Road for a while.
Aye. The point I wanted to make, Liam, I was thinking about this afternoon, and you sort of touched on it already there, by talking about Aberdeen and the win at Tynecastle. When obviously, if you look back to say a Jack Ross, he finished third place in the league, but people talk about, and I say people and myself included, like the big games maybe came up a little bit short. Like David Gray's got 7 points out of nine against Aberdeen, which would generally get thrown into that category. He's beat Celtic, which is well, as you said just 5 minutes ago. It's a difficult thing for us to do. He's obviously got a point against Rangers in the two games that we've played them so far. He's taken 4 out of 6 from Hearts. Like he is,
Should really be 6 out of 6 as
yeah,
well, shouldn't
yeah,
it?
100. Like
Like,
he
yeah,
is,
and
it is going the right way. That even if this season was to peter out and we finish, let's say, fifth or sixth. Like, we win as many as we lose for here on in, we finish fifth or sixth. That they moments will go, but we've done that. And that is what
no,
we
I
can look
know.
back on. And
Context is everything with these results as well. I mean, we were talking about the points tally in isolation, but I think if you look at the games, certainly the game at Celtic Park, it was very very unusual to go to Celtic and create that many chances, come away with nothing. We definitely should have taken something at Ibrox earlier on the season, at the very least a point, but
Mhm.
maybe more than that. And the derby, where if we had a competent goalkeeper, I'm pretty confident we'd be 6 for 6 in terms of points in the derby. So I think with every manager, there's going to be context. There was certainly context with Jack Ross and some of the big games that we failed to win. But I think the evidence would show, and I think based on the bits that you're hearing come out of the club from the Cadden twins and from Paul McGinn previously, the evidence would show that David Gray's a man who's capable of getting his players up for these occasions.
Yeah.
Not just based on performances, but based on results, I think you'd have to say as well. And we know how important that is. As much as it's very, very important that you beat the Ross Counties and the St Johnstones of this world, it is also important when the stadium is full or close to full, or the away support have sold out their allocation, that you go and you produce, because those are the moments that people remember.
Yeah, and that's like that win at the weekend. You would think would really kick us on to like seeing much, especially if, I mean, obviously the next game's Hearts, so that has sold out as you would expect it to. But if we can then go and get another 3 points, against Hearts. I mean, obviously we've got Dundee United in the middle of that, but if you win back-to-back home games against sort of Celtic and Hearts, you're looking at the sort of home games after that. You would really expect to be pushing to seeing really packed out at least three sides Easter Road, Crick.
It's mental that
But
you're even actually saying that after the start of the season. That's just crazy. Yeah, I would 100% agree. I mean, as a Hibs supporter, these types of runs do not come around very often, and I think if you can't get behind the team now, then you're not really going to be able to do it at all
Mhm.
unless you get to Hampden. Uh, so yeah, I, I I just want to see everybody get behind them, because I think they've done more than enough on this sort of second part of the season, second third of the season,
Mhm.
shall we call it? That they clearly deserve support. They're clearly playing for each other and playing for the fans. So everybody should be getting right behind them, and enjoying this run and this sort of feeling while it's there.
Yeah. Well, look,
Not
boys,
not
let's.
very often, can I just say?
Oh,
47 years. Like, I mean, that is what we're talking about. It's been 47 years
that is
since we
mental.
last had a run like this, and that is a team of the late 70s who, they use a lot and make jokes about it, but I wasn't fortunate enough to see the team in the late 70s. And the players that are mentioned in folklore, in songs that are still sung on the terraces today, you're talking about a team that is, like, beyond cult status, like almost, if not legendary status. And this team, whilst they have not actually achieved anything yet in terms of outcome to match that run, I think, just demonstrates how far we've come from a team at the beginning of the season basically everyone had written off. We were
Yep.
genuinely sitting having conversations in November about the possibility of relegation. And we were sitting having conversations about finishing 11th and where did the club go from here. And, I think many of us had internally, albeit we didn't want to admit it, had maybe resigned ourselves to the fact we might be sacking a club legend as our head coach, and not like no one wanted that clearly, and certainly no one was advocating for it. Although I think Harry could have advocated for it if he had a bit of gentle persuasion. He was 99.9% of the way there. That is what this team's. That is the level that this team has reached. It is frankly. I mean, I know it's been a bonkers season in Scottish football, but it's frankly ridiculous. Like, it's the story of the season so far for us to be where we were, to then go on 13 unbeaten, and just the way the league is, just something very, very, very bonkers could happen this season.
I think it's really, if I was to reach out to the cynics that still exist maybe amongst our support, like, and say, yeah, look, two of the games were against lower league sides in the cup. If I was to give you some context to say that if Hibs avoid defeat against Dundee United on Wednesday evening, that matches the best unbeaten run that the Neil Lennon side with Scott Allen, Jamie McClary, Florian Canberry done. They went 12 games unbeaten in the league on the back of a cup defeat at Tynecastle. So if like, just if you really want to be uber cynical and say, oh, say take two of their games away where they are 90 minutes away from matching what many people would say is the best spell of
Yep.
easily the last 20 years following
Yep.
Hibs in
I was
terms of
just going
that
to
sort
touch
of
on
couple
that.
of months.
But
So we really should be enjoying it, Craig, right?
yeah, and I was just going to say, when you were sort of saying about Neil Lennon's side there, I was going to say, like, that's undoubtedly the most I've ever enjoyed watching a Hibs side. And definitely that second half of that season is what I always cite as my favourite time ever watching Hibs. And this team, genuinely, as mad as it is, are not far away from, like, if I don't want to jinx it at all, but if we were to go and win the next two games, like, that would do it. That would do it for me. That would be the best for me, the best period ever as a Hibs fan if we win these next two games. But it's such a big ask after the run that we've been on.
Nah.
But by the way, can I just, because obviously there was a lot of talk about David Gray and there was a lot of people in their own fan base, and I'm not going to have a go at them because everybody's a football fan and gets emotional at the end of the day. But David Gray, what a guy! Like, if you were in that team, like, I've never been part of an official football team. I've only been on fives and sevens and all that, other than when I was really young. Like, I'm not even a footballer, and I just feel like I'd run through anybody on a football park if he asked me to. Like, I would do anything that man asked me. I love him.
It's just in this current moment and fall is Liam, it's everything that we could have asked for with David Gray being the Hibs manager. Like, you've seen it. I'm trying to think of even, like, I don't know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Man U. A club legend that is sort of, he came in and then it gets really awkward if it's not working well. Like this last sort of 3 months, now that it is getting to, I think we lost the first game in December against Celtic. It was like the early December, so coming up 3 months now without defeat. Like, it really is just everything that we could have hoped for when he came in. I know we're in the middle of the season and there's still a lot of football to play, but this real moment now is just fantastic.
Nah, it's amazing. It's amazing to be part of, obviously, such an amazing run. I couldn't have wished for it to happen to someone who I've got more admiration for, just in the way that he's carried himself, not only throughout this sort of stint as manager, but I think even up until that point as a player. And I feel somewhat vindicated because I just kind of felt like when he was appointed that he would make it work in spite of the circumstances around him. Like, I just kind of felt like he's the sort of person who would lead through change and lead through adversity. And I think he's shown that he can do that. He's done that by being really steadfast in his belief. And, the more that I listen to him talk and the more I hear him talk, the more belief I have in him. Not necessarily as, a master tactician or anything like that, but as someone who's a leader of people. And I think that, that quality of leadership is something which is kind of, I would say it's underrated because I think most people recognise the importance of it, but it is slightly intangible. It's kind of hard to describe. why someone makes you feel like you would follow them into battle, to kind of use that terminology. You know, people saying things like, "I'd die for that man. I'd go to war for him," but you
I
know,
would.
that's kind of how we feel. That's kind of how we feel.
I mean, he definitely had an advantage over some of the recent managers when he came in, obviously with his background. But look, it's been fantastic. If I was to slow us down on our ever so wonderful ramblings on for as we approach an hour, look, the perk of a 12:30 kickoff on a Saturday is supposed to be, that you get to enjoy the rest of your weekend, which I'm sure we all did. I know you went out in town for a little bit, Liam, but you're supposed to be able to enjoy watching the rest of the weekend's results come in over Saturday and Sunday. And you look, while we all enjoyed a very, very good, a very, very good and pleasant result at Ibrox, it has meant that our victory has just ensured that we stay. Sorry, context. Liam's just sent a message in the chat,
No,
sent me flying. It's basically meant that we haven't gained any ground on anyone, but we have stayed neutral. That just has to add to the significance of this game coming up at Tannadice on Wednesday, right?
yes.
That's too far. Get you the shite, but that's play. Come on.
I mean, to talk about the reference earlier on about it being a bonkers league. You know, the week that we go off and pull off a result of the season, essentially, everyone around us wins, and that has not been the case. You know, if you look at the league season overall, there's been teams dropping points left, right, and centre. But you know, as we get sort of towards the business end, sort of the final 6 games before the split, teams are starting to find a bit of sort of focus, shall we say, recognising that they need results because of how competitive it is to get into the top 6. So I think what you hope with in the run-ins like this is that they start eating each other. So, you know, Hearts play St Mirren obviously through the week, so one of them, you know, will have to drop points, at least one of them. You know, there are other fixtures. Aberdeen play Dundee United, I think, this weekend, I
Yeah,
think
they
I'm right
play
in
at the
saying.
weekend.
Yeah.
Celtic play Aberdeen as well midweek.
So you know, it's just good to be involved in it.
Yeah.
But you almost can't really discount anyone. I would say Dundee are probably now out of the race, but I'd say you can almost can't really discount anyone down to 10th, which is crazy.
I feel like, and I think I messaged this in a chat earlier, and I probably put it really poorly. I feel like at this stage, whilst Hibs are winning, you want teams to start beating each other as well, though. Do you know, like if teams keep drawing, that sort of keeps some within touching distance of you. Like if we go to Tannadice and win on Wednesday night, I want there to be a winner between Hearts and St Mirren because that gives us that game cushion or that extra point between. I know, like I don't maybe I'm wrong with that, but I
I
just
want Hearts to get beat.
oh well, I
I'm sorry,
always
I
want
just
them.
always.
So if I made it clear that I want St Mirren to win.
Right. No, to be honest, I'm okay when they're playing each other with them drawing. It's when they play other teams like the bottom two or the top two. I would rather they got beat.
No. Craig,
I'd be a big fan of a draw in that game, I've got to say.
well, you and talking shite, who knew? Craig, what is the significance of this game? Now, look, Hibs, it's mental to say 13 games unbeaten, yada yada yada, but you've just got a next game, and Hibs really could do with going to Dundee United and getting the 3 points.
It's massive, isn't it? It's massive. And again, not to harp on about the same sort of thing all the time, but if you'd said this sort of 3 4 months ago that we would be in this situation, especially obviously the run that Dundee United went on probably just prior to our run starting, you'd have been sectioned, to be honest, because it's just it's mental that we could be playing them. I think, do we go ahead of them?
Yeah, we do.
Just
Yeah,
above them if we beat them?
fine that's right.
Aye, we do. No, we do on goal difference. We go ahead of them on goal difference because they're +2 and we're +1, I think. So it would reverse basically.
Yes.
So I mean, aye, it's massive, isn't it? It's absolutely massive in our season. I think if you lose, nah, not that I'm doing a Harry and sort of mapping out all the games that we're not going to pick up points in, but if you lose the next 2 games, it probably, while it doesn't knock us out of real contention, maybe for fifth or anything like that, I think it probably damages your hopes quite significantly of fighting for third, especially maybe even fourth. So I think first of all, avoiding defeat is massive on Wednesday. But if you manage to win it, it really just catapults you right into the mix, you would imagine Aberdeen are going to lose at Celtic Park. So then you'd be fourth and a point off a third. So it's obviously huge.
Liam, you described it as potentially our biggest league game for 5 years earlier on. Is that something that you've maybe had time to digest your thoughts? Is that still sort of what you think, or?
I think, I mean, the potential of this season of, the fruits that are available to the team that finishes third, should Celtic win the cup. I think every game between now and the end of the season, as long as we're in contention, is the biggest game of the season or biggest game of the last 5 years. We've not genuinely really been in the race for it, other than the season that we actually finished third under Jack Ross, which was COVID ball. So, you have to apply a certain tax to that. I think each one of these next 6 games is absolutely vital, and then the 5 games that follow after that, if we're still in the fight for it, I would make a case for them being the most important. There's context to everything. This is the last year that reward is going to be available of group stage European football guaranteed. And I'm not just talking about it, from the sort of the days out and the trips perspective, because of course I'm really looking forward to the potential of that. I mean, that would be fucking amazing. Like, genuinely, like, I have looked on enviously at other teams having that for so long. I want that, right? I'm putting it out there. I want to go to some fucking dive in Eastern Europe and just enjoy myself for 2-3 days. I want to go on a nice cultural, extravaganza to somewhere in, I don't know, southern Italy for a couple of days. I want that, right? That's what I want. And we can get that. That is still one of the potential prizes that's on offer to this team. And context is important because that's the last year. We just posted, significant financial losses a couple of weeks ago. The opportunities that would bring, and that would bring this football club forward. That was not on the plan this year. The plan this year was to have a solid, steady year and rebuild for next year. But if we can overachieve, we almost catapult ourselves a year forward in our planning. That's what's on offer. That's the opportunity this year.
That is very nicely put. Will we win tomorrow night then? I know you're desperate to get away, Liam. I know you've got other things that need to be happening, but look, will Hibs win tomorrow night at Tannadice? Tomorrow night, sorry, Wednesday night. It'll be tomorrow night by anyone's listening to this. If you're listening on Monday night, thanks for watching live. But come on, surely you got better things to do.
I'm starting to be a believer in the law of averages.
Mr. McCurdy's
And I think that on the basis of play this season, talk about injustices, we should have had at least 4 points from the Dundee United games, and we've got 1. I think that has to correct itself on Wednesday night. I think we're going to go there, and I think it's going to be tight. I predicted 2-1 at the weekend. I was right with that. I'm sticking with 2-1.
Predicted 2-1 on air, and of course that's all that counts, I suppose. Craig, do you share that optimism, or is your law of averages of where we have to lose eventually, as you've been telling us?
I could spin it either way to suit me, and I probably will spin it after the game, and I'll say that I was right. I'm more strongly leaning towards the law of averages in terms of we're due them a defeat or a beating. So I think after the sort of damage that they've inflicted on us this season, obviously at Tannadice and the one at Easter Road, which was arguably just as bad, the way we dominated them, and then to get that penalty given against you was really bad. So I'm going to say 3-0 Hibs.
Fucking love it. I totally agree with you. Hibs are going to win this game of football because that's all we're doing now. Winning is contagious. There is a good feeling. The squad's getting stronger. Hopefully, Rocky's in a good position. Maybe Ellie Yuan will be back on the bench. I think there was chat that he'd maybe be available for this game or the Hearts game. Joe Newell on the fit and firing again. Maybe Dylan Levitt back on the bench. We're going to be able to make 5 changes and look like we're bringing on all the superstars like Celtic do, except ours will actually have an impact on the game. Hibs are going to win this game 2-0 because Hibs simply don't concede goals. It's that straightforward. So you accept the one that we conceded at the weekend, but that didn't count. 2-0 Hibs, that's my prediction, and I think Martin Boyle will grab himself a goal and Josh Campbell's going to be up again winning a header. But boys, that has been a thoroughly enjoyable hour and a bit. We'll be back on Thursday night, looking ahead to the third and who knows, potentially final Edinburgh Derby of the season if Hearts continue to linger in that bottom six. But like I say, we'll be back on Thursday night, looking back on the game at Tandis and looking ahead to the massive game on Sunday. Cheers!
Cheers.
Cheers.
You may go.